there, this is Nick from Income Digs. Welcome to this video tutorial, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a really valuable lesson. I'm going to show you today exactly how I estimate rehab costs. Okay, this is probably one of the most common questions I get. What is your process for estimating rehab costs? So I'm going to talk through exactly how I do that today. Now, my estimating has gone through quite an evolution. So starting out with flipping houses, I was estimating rehab costs. I have a few different ways of doing that. You've seen some of those. I'm going to talk about some of the previous ways, and I'm going to talk about how I've come to this current method as well. But also, this methodology has adapted to work for residential remodeling as well. So we're not only estimating rehab costs for projects that we might be flipping, but also if you are delivering these services to third-party homeowners, this estimating tool will cover that as well. So I'm going to show you all of that. I'm going to talk through the entire process. It works for rehabbers if you're flipping houses. It works if you're doing residential remodeling for a third party. It works even if you're doing new home builds. Okay, so I'm going to teach you that. And all this as well also relates really closely with QuickBooks Online and Builder Trends. So everything that we do here can integrate and be imported into both of those tools. So going to be a little bit of a long one, but I want you to stay with me through this, and I promise you it's going to be extremely valuable. And you can also download this tool so you can do it yourself and modify it yourself. So let's get into it. I have this Google Sheet up. I love using Google Sheets. If you haven't heard me say that yet, that's currently a really good tool. Just the collaborative ability is great, and the functionality is awesome as well. So this is the estimating tool. We're going to go through a bunch of this, but generally what I like to do is I like to have a dashboard sheet, which kind of shows me my summary. My worksheet is what gets me there, and then I have a lot of supporting tabs as well that help save me time as I move through and do project after project and learn from my previous projects, okay? So first thing I want to do is just talk briefly about an estimating tool that you might have seen me use before, okay? And if you haven't, we have videos on that as well, but I have this ID Rehab investment analysis where I have this investment summary, and then we have a bunch of what goes into a rehab, including the rehab costs, and we can do that budgeting in a few different ways. I have this thing called the quick budget, and you've probably seen me do this type of estimate. And this is a decent way to estimate, especially like at a high level when you don't want to spend too much time. You have your categories sorted out here, and you can quickly move through and assign, you know, I need one dumpster at $650, or actually that'd be here. Okay, and then your demo crew would be more like, okay, I got 32 hours worth of demo at $40 an hour. Okay, and that whole thing starts to build up, and that's fine. This way is a good way of estimating kind of at the high level. But almost definitely, as you get into this, you're going to want to get more detailed so that your estimate actually has a full scope of work and it's a little bit more dynamic. You can add and subtract things to it to see how it impacts your overall estimate. I'm going to show you how we can do that today. So let me shoot over to this other tool. Now, this other tool is very comprehensive, and it's going to kind of take you some time to build up your repertoire and build up what I'm going to talk about here is your catalog. But once you do, it's going to be very useful. So let me just demonstrate how this works in the worksheet here. Okay. The first thing that we do is we do a bottom-up approach, meaning on this here, it's just kind of like top-down, where I have, here's my categories, and then I plug them in. Here, I'm going to build the scope of work from each line item. So I'm going to pick a cost code. I'm going to talk about those in a second. Okay. So for example, demolition, and I can just say dumpsters. Okay, option I'll talk about in a second as well. Resource is going to be blank for now. It's not labor, so it's materials. I'm going to call this internal. I'm going to say one each. My unit cost is $650, and I have a 5% contingency and a 35% markup. Okay, we're going to get into all that in a little bit. Don't worry about it, but I'm starting to build this out. Now, let's say that I have a demo crew, so I use demolition labor. Okay, I'm going to use my baseline again. Here, I'm going to do labor instead of materials. I'll talk about allowance in a little bit. And let's say here I have my 32 hours at 40 hours, 5% contingency, 35% markup, okay? Let's just say I do that. Now the way this tool works is my inputs are here in the white, and then I have some calculations going on here. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a contingency. I think this is a best practice to have some kind of contingency to say, this is really what I think it'll cost, but hey, let's add a certain percentage just to make sure we're safe. And then if you are in the third-party remodeling or you're doing residential remodeling for other customers, you might want to add a markup as well. I'm going to show you how that influences the dashboard. If you're just doing rehabs, use this tool without the markup. No big deal at all. You don't have to use it. And then we get these calculations. We get base costs, which is quite simply this quantity multiplied by the unit cost. We have a contingency, which is 5% times that base cost. That gives me my total cost. So I differentiate total cost versus base cost. The total cost includes the contingency, okay? And then I have profit, and I'm marking up based on the total cost. So this 35% gets added to my total cost. That gives me what I call my total price. Again, if you're doing rehabs for yourself, this total price will equal your total cost. You're gonna have zero markup here. Then my subcategories and categories, I'll show you those in a second. Okay, so I'm just getting started with this, and let's look at what the dashboard looks like. So the dashboard will start to take shape in that the dashboard is going to start calculating my total labor, my total materials, okay, my total subs and materials. That gives me my total price. And then from here, we can add to it as well, okay? So this dashboard is going to really help us to understand what's going on with our project. And you'll see this start to take shape in a little bit here, okay? So let's talk for a second about our cost codes, okay? So it's definitely essential for you as a renovator in some way, shape, or form to have a list of cost codes, okay? So a list of cost codes, that's really like your categories, okay? So you want to be able to budget by category. This helps you to stay organized. It helps you to be comprehensive, making sure that you are hitting all the areas. And then most importantly, it helps you to learn from your past renovations, and it helps you estimate in the future. As you estimate moving forward, you're going to get better and better and better because you're going to have historical information that can help you make predictions about costs, okay? And so it's really essential that we have a place to put these. Now, your cost codes are completely up to you. I encourage you to come up with your own cost codes. That being said, there's many places that you can look to start. I have a few of them out there. So if you're in my real estate accounting bootcamp course, you have a couple lists of products and services that I give you access to, right? The simple and the complex one. Now, products and services in QuickBooks Online will relate directly to your cost codes here. So link them, make sure they're the same. So if you're already using QuickBooks Online, download that list of products and services and use that as your cost codes here. All right. Now, I started with a list from the National Association of Home Builders, and then I edited it to be my own. Now, what's really fun with cost codes, what I like to do is I have my cost code here, which is like the lowest level, the highest detail. And then I have subcategories and categories. Okay. And what's really fun to do with this, especially as you're drawing it up and seeing like, am I comprehensive, is make a pivot table with it and just start building it out where you have your category. Okay, and then I'm going to add my subcategories, then I'm going to add my cost codes, and you can see that this is the comprehensive list of all my cost codes in their categories, okay? Now mine's pretty comprehensive. We build new homes, we build additions, and so we have a very comprehensive list of cost codes. You don't need to be that comprehensive. You need to think about the level of detail that's going to help your business, okay? And that's the level that you want to go to. And I recommend if you have nothing yet, maybe start with my simple list of products and services to get you off and running, and then potentially build it up to be more complex. But either way, this is the cost code list, okay? So you're going to put that cost code list in there. If you were to download this sheet and make it your own, you're going to want to replace this with your own, all right? And that is going to be what feeds my drop down here, and then we do a simple VLOOKUP to tell me what my category and subcategory is, okay? So cost codes are very, very important. All right, now one cool thing about cost codes is I can start to build in some checks and balances for what I call project types, okay? So at the category level, all right, so actually the subcategory level, I can say to the system what type of project should include different subcategories. So if I go to my project types, I've listed out, actually this is subcategory, it's not category, so let me label that appropriately. So I have my list, a comprehensive list of subcategories, and I'm telling the system, now remember, I'm using this mostly for residential remodeling, okay? Which means we can do bathrooms, we can do kitchens, we can do general interior, we can do an addition, a new build, okay? If you're doing this for flips, maybe you are instead using categories like, or project types like quick flip, medium level flip, major flip, okay? Think about that as well. You can make those adjustments. But basically what I'm doing with this is I'm saying that whenever I have this project type, I'm telling the system when I should have this subcategory populated, okay? This is going to help me when I complete my estimate to do a sanity check to see if I have included everything I should. So I'm pretty much telling the system here that when I have any of these project types, I am going to either sometimes, never, or always need this subcategory involved. So I've thought through this and I've really thought about my projects and I've decided when I need those things. So I could say, actually, I don't really need to do that, but I could say take a kitchen and get rid of my nevers. And this is going to show me that when I do a kitchen estimate, I'm going to need probably all of these categories. And so I can tell my dashboard that if you're not finding any of these categories, alert me that we might need to do some additions to our worksheet. Okay? I'm going to show you how all of that works on the dashboard. All right? Cool. So we got our project types. We talked about cost codes. Now let's talk about the catalog. So when you first do this, it's going to take some time and it's really good reps though, okay? You need to build out your scope of work and you need to really think through all of those categories and subcategories. Maybe use this as your first go and then translate that over here. And that's because you need to be comprehensive. What I usually do in my business, actually, say for demo labor, I'll actually split it up by person. I'm going to show you what's neat about that in the dashboard. So I'm going to say by resource. So I might have my lead carpenter. Now, maybe your lead carpenter is not doing demo, but let's just use this for example here. Okay, so I have maybe my lead carpenter 2, then I have my carpenter 1, carpenter 2, and they're all on the demo crew. And it's like 2 days of everybody being there. Okay, so that's 16 hours. And maybe my lead carpenters are billing at like 55 bucks an hour, whereas my normal carpenters are at 40, okay? So this is what I mean by being comprehensive with it. Whenever I have like a demo package, I always need dumpsters and I need some labor, right? And so I'm gonna always kind of bring this stuff in there, all right? Now let's say that I have something that's not within I don't have any employees, but instead I have like a plumbing subcontractor. So that I would do rough plumbing subcontract, and I would call this rough plumbing. All right. Resource, I wouldn't use this for anything external to you. Just use this for anybody who's internal to your business. Cost type is going to be subcontract, internal. I'm going to do, maybe they charge me by the hour as well. Maybe I'm assuming we have 24 hours of this plumber and he's with a helper. And so the combined rate of both of them is 180 bucks. Okay. 5% contingency, 35% markup. There's rough plumbing, okay? So how does that translate to the dashboard? It starts to populate everything in there, okay? I have my totals, all right? And now notice here I have my labor summary. So I use this for myself. If you don't have internal labor, you can get rid of this, but you could also use this for your 1099 employees. If you wanted to, you can use this for your subcontractors as well. You can see their total hours here. Now, this is where things start to really kind of look cool. What I've done here is I've outlined all my subcategories, and then I've built in some conditional formatting exactly pertaining to my project types, okay? Now, I haven't indicated a project type yet, but let me indicate this as a kitchen. So I have a project type as kitchen. And so what's happening here is the tool is showing me anything in red, okay, shows that I should have something, but I don't yet. Okay, and so I can filter by fill color as red, and that's going to show me that, hey, I better add stuff for framing, electrical installation. Now, I'm not done yet, so it makes sense that I have some red here, but that's what I mean by being able to show your project types, okay? Now, the other thing I want to talk about is allowance, okay? So in my business with residential remodeling, I give my customers an allowance for selection. So for kitchen cabinetry, for plumbing fixtures, for electrical fixtures, they're getting allowances. And I'm adding this to their total price, but I am separating it out and I'm giving them this list and I'm saying, here's the stuff that's included in your price, but this is the number I got on it. If you spend more, if you spend less, you're gonna get that marginal benefit or the marginal extra cost. So it is fun for me to be able to separate that out. So let me give you an example of one. Let's say that we have kitchen cabinets, okay? So I can bring in kitchen cabinetry. Okay, let's this will be material, but instead of internal, it's going to be allowance is. And for this, maybe I'm just giving them a blank like $15,000 as an allowance. Now with my business, I don't add a contingency to the allowance, because if they spend more, that's on them. If they spend less, that's on me. But I do add a little bit of a markup, because there still is the process of helping them pick stuff out. There's a lot of project management that goes into that. Now, I don't do the 35% all the time. It depends on how, this is also an area where I might switch it up a little bit, but I will add something to it, okay? And that one's allowance. So now if I go to my dashboard, you can see that I have $15,000 worth of allowance plus my other stuff. That gives them their total price, okay? So that is helpful for me to be able to see that. And then I always give them that list of allowances, and we'll get into that, okay? So there's my worksheet. The other thing I want to talk about is option. So what I was finding I was running into, especially with kind of this quick rehab situation here, and definitely when I'm trying to estimate in Buildertrend is a really good estimating tool, but I'm getting a lot of, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we did this project or that project? What if we combine the two? And so what's really fun to be able to do with this is we can have option where if you just have one project, just call it baseline or call it project one and be done with it. But if you have the potential for two projects or two different categories of scopes of work, you can add that option here and update it in the dashboard. Let me give you an example. We have a customer who says, hey, I want my kitchen done, and I might want my bathroom done as well. Can you quote both? Okay, now I can quote that whole situation, bathroom and kitchen, as one big thing. Boom, here's your price. But what happens if the customer comes back to me and says like, all right, well, how much was the bathroom? We might just want to do the kitchen. I'm going to show you how we can do that as well. All right, so let's say, for example, that rough plumbing. Let me start to build it out. Like we have, let's call the baseline, let's call that kitchen now. So you can change the names of these as you need to. But let's take that rough plumbing number, and let's say that, I've got 24 hours of them for the kitchen, but I'd have 16 hours if I wanted those plumbers to be there for the bathroom. Okay? So what you can do with this is on your dashboard, I have this option here. It's a slicer. And right now it's giving me the total because everything's selected, but I can quickly say, hey, just give me the kitchen, and it's going to update the price. Or give me the or just give me the bathroom, okay? Or give me both, and I can update that. Now this will throw off your project type, but don't worry about that. You can play with that and adjust it as you need to. But this option has been extremely useful, and I'm going to show you we can build pivot tables off that as well. All right, so we're almost there on the whole thing. Now to really show you like how this thing looks when it's done, let's go over to the catalog. So what I've finally done, this is like the last iteration of this estimating tool, is I started to build out a catalog, okay? And actually to demonstrate this, I'm gonna get rid of all these items here. When you delete items here, don't go into the gray, those are all formulas. I'm just deleting those in the white. Okay, so what I did with the catalog is I added a column to the left here, and I started to copy and paste commonly used line items, and I called them a catalog item. And I got this inspiration from Buildertrend, where they have catalog items, but this was just a little bit easier. And basically what I said was, you heard me talk about demolition. Whenever I do demolition, I need some miscellaneous demo tools or maybe some tool rentals. I have a dumpster, and then I have my demo labor of all my guys. Now, let's say that all my guys don't work on a demo. That's okay. I'll be able to edit this later. The idea is to have those line items to save ourselves some time. And I've called all that demolition. Then I've done the same for framing. You can see I have subfloor misc framing, LVLs, labor, subfloor labor. I have my insulation as well. I have interior trim. I have tile. Now, most of this is internal, but I can also do this with allowances. So like bath allowances here. So what's really useful is you establish this nice, big, awesome catalog. And when it's time to start a new project, you use this as your starting point. Let me show you how that works. So basically what we would do is we'd come over and say, all right, we got a new project starting, and it's a kitchen. And so you're gonna think through, and here's how you do this. You go over to the catalog, you clear it, okay? And you say, all right, on a kitchen, I'm gonna need demo. Cool, got demo. I'm gonna need framing. And I'm just, okay, I'm gonna need rough plumbing. Oh, let's just do plumbing. And as it comes up, I'm hitting the enter button, and that's selecting it. I'm gonna do electrical. I'm gonna need some insulation. Let's see what allowances we have. I'm going to need my kitchen allowances. I'm going to need my bath allowances. Interior painting I need to do. Drywall. Okay, so let's select all those. I'll click OK. And so now I've just filtered this whole list on all those things, okay? Now what I can do is I can copy from column B all the way over to my profit line here. I can copy all that, bring it over to the worksheet, and paste it right in. And I've got a perfectly set up starting point to now edit my estimate. Is this estimate perfect? Absolutely not. But what it's done is it's eliminated the need for me to go into every line and click the drop down and adjust. Now all I need to do is I need to go through and think about, okay, for demo, how many people do I need? Okay, maybe I need my carpenter 2 for 24 hours and a lead carpenter to help out for 16 and then 0 from everybody else. Maybe that's the case, fine, okay? For framing, maybe it's a really easy framing job. I have no LVLs, no posts. I can zero that out. I have MISC framing tools and $450. We need some 2x4s. We need a little bit of floor patch. Here's my subfloor number. Okay, I can go in there. And then my framing labor, again, this is pretty simple. So maybe I just need my 2 carpenters, carpenter 1, carpenter 2. I don't need any leads on it just because it's easy. So let's say that I have 8 hours of carpenter 1, 8 hours of carpenter 2, and I don't need my leads on it. So I'm going through and I'm editing all these numbers. This saves so much time. Let's say that my subfloor labor, I just have carpenter 2 there for 4 hours and nobody else. Okay. I can also filter this list by the allowances. Remember, I had some allowances come in there. All right, so let's look at my allowances here. And here's my custom shower door for the bathroom, $22.50. This one's going to be really small and easy, so maybe it's $12.50 is my allowance there. Shower floor tile, what's my square footage of the shower floor? It's a 4x4, so it's 16 square foot. Let's round up for scrap. Let's call it 20. All right, my bath floor tile, what's the square footage of my bathroom? So I'm going to update all these square footages and also update your cost per square foot. All right, you'll know based on the flip you're doing or the client that you have, the type of materials that you're going to be using, right? You can certainly save all of your appliances if you're doing a flip. Okay, kitchen cabinetry, kitchen cabinets and trim, okay, $15,250. Now, as you know, we can spend $5,000 on cabinets. We can spend $50,000 on cabinets. What type of project is this? Is this one where we're going to need top of the line stuff that it's going to be really big and where they're going to shop? You can maybe increase this to $25,000. Whatever the case might be, edit it here. But we've saved a ton of time by being able to copy and paste our catalog, okay? And we can still add to this. Maybe something isn't in our catalog currently, but we need it, right? So let's say, for example, that we do need some steel, and maybe I don't have that in my catalog yet. I need a steel beam. You know, maybe I need a W10 by 54 steel beam. Materials, it's internal, and I've got a quote for it for $1,500, and I'm going to add 5% and 35%. Okay, I can still add to it. So now let's look at our dashboard. Okay, so our dashboard has started to take shape, and you can see that my calculations have started to flow in. Now I still have some red here. I don't have any rough HVAC. I don't have any flooring yet. So you can see that the red is really helping to tell me, if I go in here and filter by color, filter on red, it's really telling me, hey, you better look at this again and make sure that you have something here. Now, this is only calculating the internal cost, so nothing that is listed as an allowance. Something like appliances, for example. This was one that I got caught on all the time. I'd include an allowance for my customer. Here's your refrigerator, your range, your microwave, but I didn't include any labor to install the stuff, right? And obviously, we're gonna need a day or two to install that stuff, especially on a kind of higher end kitchen. The other thing I like to do when it comes to a sanity check is to look at our labor, okay? And now this, this isn't fully built out yet. In theory, when we had a lot of hours in here, it would start to take shape. And what you can do with that is you can see the total cost of labor. But I really like this weeks calculation to show me, okay, I know this project is going to take X weeks. How much labor do I have in there when it comes to weeks? Of course, it won't be perfect. We have subcontractors in there. We have dead time. It's not like if it's a 4-week project, we're going to have, every employee times 40 times 4. But this helps for a sanity check. All right. Now, what's really neat about this whole thing is the calculations will happen for you, and then you can add some other items to it as well. Again, if you're doing a rehab cost just for you, ignore this word price. Your markup's going to be way lower, but this tool will still do what it needs to do for you. I've added a couple potential increases. If you're adding credit card processing, you can add 3% here. If you're adding project management, I think you should think about that as well. Maybe design services, you can add a percentage here. Or if you need to, you don't need these to be calculations. You can just add, the 5,000. All right. So that is generally the tool. So how does this whole thing work? If you're downloading this, you might be interested in like how to make it yours. Filter by color, none. Okay. So generally what I do with this is I have the worksheet is the driver of all of everything. And then in the dashboard, I have these pivot tables that you can see down here, and I'm reading from them for my calculations. And that really is cool because when I mess with the slicer updates the pivot tables, which then updates my charts and graphs. All right, and to play with that a little bit, let's just make some of these kitchen and some of these bath. All right, I'm just gonna do it randomly. Okay, let's just make everything down here, bathroom, and then everything up here, kitchen. Okay, so then I can play with this and see how it updates. And I have this one over here too, is just, again, for me to see what's going on. Okay, so I can see in real time my, my different categories and how they're summarized up. Okay. The other thing we can do with this is we can draw up some charts if that makes sense to us. So I added this one here, this by category chart. This shows me all of my subcategories, how much I plan to spend in subcontract materials and labor. And again, what happens with this is as I update my options, my chart will update as well. Okay. So one thing I would like to show you is, I got a bunch of zeros here, something I gotta fix, but I will. So one thing that I'd like to do next is just to summarize that with this catalog, what we're really doing is just saving a ton of time. So I'm gonna encourage you to build with the worksheet, build different projects and save those within your worksheet, copy them over to your catalog and let that catalog build upon itself. And then you can do your filter and copy and paste things in as you need to. Okay, so this estimating tool, again, is pretty complex, but it does a lot. And what I really like to do with it too is I can bounce it out, and this is part of why I love Google Sheets, is I can have the same spreadsheet open in two places. And that allows me, especially if I'm really close to being done with an estimate, I can really hone in on and update, say, my profit percentages might be an idea, right? So I could say that maybe on my allowances, I don't want to take a full 20%, okay? So on the one sheet, I can make those updates and see it in real time update over here, okay? And this is really fun to do with two screens. Okay, so I can say, all right, instead of 20%, let's do 15%, and let's drag it all the way down, and let's see how it influences my price. And I'll do that a lot, maybe with kitchen cabinets. I got 25 grand. Am I really gonna take 15% profit on cabinets that I'm not even buying? Probably not. Maybe just 5% on those, okay? So you're able to update and make some changes as you need to. The tool is really, really powerful. Of course, you're going to want to make it yours, so I encourage you to download the template, edit it, ask questions in the comments of this video, and really make it yours. And I hope that you find it as valuable as I have. I run my entire business off of it. This is really where I go to do my estimating, and I make sure that I'm accurate on everything. And again, this will flow into Buildertrend. This will flow into QuickBooks Online. We have plenty of follow-ups on that. We're going to show you how we can import this type of budget into Buildertrend, all right, which is really, really valuable for tracking your actual costs as well. And it all goes around that cost code. So in the meantime, let me know if you have any questions on this. Please check out our end-to-end courses that we have available. We have Real Estate Accounting Bootcamp, where we're showing you exactly how to do a lot of this actual tracking in QuickBooks Online. So check that out. Let me know if you have any questions, and always stay tuned for all the free resources available at IncomeDigs.com. Renovations.com.